We fly high, no lie, and you know that.
Boom!
It's the rude boy, Juan Agudelo, and with me as always is my partner in cinematic crime, Christopher Rowe. And we are Cinema Boof. Chris, what's going on, man?
I don't want to worry you, Juan, but I gotta go to the hospital.
Dude, why?
I feel pale.
But you're always pale, man. You're always...
False alarm, I was nailing my Dick Cheney impersonation.
Chris said dick.
This week, we're looking at the third most Oscar-nominated film, Vice.
Wait, how many did it get?
8 nominations, tied with Star is Born.
Wow.
This is Cinema Boof's review of Vice.
Vice, baby. Dun 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 dun.
Vice is Adam McKay's latest in his kick of socio-politico, satire, dramedy, comedy, whatever the hell you want to call it. A movie about Dick Cheney.
The Snake himself. When I agreed to watch this film, I was not in the right state of mind.
Yeah, were you drunk?
Yeah, actually, it was my birthday. And I'll drink if I want to. You would drink too if you had to watch this too.
Well, I did have to watch this too, and I wasn't drunk, but I wish I were, because it turns out this was not a movie, it was a lecture about things I kind of already knew.
It's interesting to see some of the maniacal things this man would do throughout his career, but honestly, I lived through the 8 years and really my whole life with his bullshit.
Yeah, it's a case where I felt like McKay was trying to replicate the style and energy of The Big Short. Here, the energy can sometimes carry the day, but unlike The Big Short, there really is no story, which makes it a pretty flat cinematic experience.
I will say, my man The Dark Knight, Christian Bale, crushes his performance as Vice President Dick Cheney.
And I was surprisingly impressed with the supporting cast, including recent Oscar winner Sam Rockwell as W, Amy Adams as Lynn Cheney, and even Steve Carell as Don Rumsfeld. I gotta say, I thought Steve Carell's look as Rumsfeld on the Vice posters was terrible, and I thought he'd be terrible in the movie, but when you see his character in context, it makes sense.
The only other thing I liked about this film was the editing and its use of montage. They have a great sequence where they describe the hierarchy of the government once W and Cheney take control through a board game similar to Risk. But unfortunately, montage is also the downfall, because this entire film is one big montage that has no dramatic payoff.
Yeah, I think the movie makes a lot of blatant political points, most of which are pretty astute, but there's very little story here. It's mainly just a recount of stuff that happened with a few half-hearted gestures towards story, like the threads with Dick Cheney's daughter and Jesse Plemons' character.
What did you think of the big reveal of Jesse Plemons' character?
It didn't fly for me. It felt like it came out of nowhere in a bad way. I mean, I know it was supposed to come out of nowhere, but narratively it feels unsatisfying, like an excuse for the movie to make one last blatant political point. Plus, it was a lazy way to have a voiceover throughout the whole movie that tells us stuff instead of showing us that stuff.
Blah, 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 Chris. Let's wrap this up. What are your final thoughts on the film Vice?
Vice features great performances and an energizing style, but hardly any story. The film tells its audience way too much and has hardly any subtlety. Still, Vice is nominated for 8 Academy Awards. I think it'll probably win Best Actor for Christian Bale and Best Editing. To me, Christian Bale deserves Best Actor, but a film like The Favorite deserves Best Editing. Vice is 3 stars, lukewarm boof. Juan, what did you think?
Chris, people are loving this film, but not this guy. Yeah, it's got some gimmicks that are pretty humorous, but in the end, I didn't have to see this film because I already lived through it. I think Christian Bale will likely win for Best Actor, and maybe Best Editing like you said, but that's about it. This is a 2.5 star film. Boom!
You heard it here, people. That's Cinema Boof's review of Vice.
Like, comment, and subscribe. So until next time, Cinema Boof is out. Let's make America boof again.